Okay, the next section, the next part is I would go ahead and outline all the lines with a marker. I love Sharpie, you know I love Sharpie, so I'm going to do mine in a Sharpie. If you don't have a Sharpie, you can use any dark color. Dark color usually works better because it helps see all of your lines, and it's okay if you go out of the lines if they're not exactly on, because no one's going to see those pencil lines. And this is a good time to like add any special touches you want to add to your lines, and then maybe even get rid of lines that you don't want. Maybe you don't want to Sharpie some lines. So I'm just going to fill in my little dolphin here. This is when it really starts coming together. Let's see, look at my dolphin picture. I also noticed there's some little shading on here, so for some of you who like to do a little shading, you could see how there's a little shading on there. You could add a little shading, but you don't have to. I might add just a little bit here and a little bit here. Okay, so I'm going to Sharpie the rest of my lines. My paint palette, which is going to be my symbolic flag for me. Actually think I might divide up the space behind too. I might do something like this in the background. I also want to Sharpie these quadrant lines. Adding a little texture to my trunk. A little bit more wave to my water. Got a little sunset going on. A little beach. Maybe add a little texture to my beach. Like that. And Sharpie my layer. Okay, so now I'm ready for color. I think for myself, I'm going to try and stick to some colors that kind of go with characteristics that are meaningful to me. Now you can use markers, crayons, colored pencils, paint even if you want, although if it's copy paper, painting will be a little bit difficult because it might put holes in your paper unless you have a very gentle touch because copy paper is so thin. But if I look on here, I can see that white and silver mean peace and serenity. So I might leave some pieces white because for me, peace and serenity is kind of, I'm a pretty peaceful person. I'm pretty chill most of the time. Also, I love green because it symbolizes hope, joy, and loyalty and love. So I definitely will want to put some green in mine. And then I like the blue with truth and loyalty because I really think that has a lot to do with me. But I also like golden yellow because it's generous and wise. So I think maybe I'm going to stick with gold. I'm going to put a little note here. Gold yellow, just writing a little note to myself. Some white. I don't really have silver right now, so I'm going to use some white, and I'm going to use some, I'm going to cut this out later so it doesn't matter that I'm making myself some notes. I'm going to use some blue, and I'm going to use some green, and I'm really going to try and stick to these colors in my personal crest. You can see in this one, I stuck more with blue and orange and red and yellow, so there was a lot of, the red symbolizes warrior and strength, so there's a lot more strength in this one. This one I'm kind of leaning toward blues, greens, yellows, and whites. So I'm going to use the blues, greens, yellows, and whites, and I'm going to start coloring in my Crest. I'm going to start with my Dolphin. Now, colored pencils would look really pretty with this Dolphin. I just happen to have markers here, so I'm using markers. I want my Dolphin to be blue. It's kind of a dark blue, but I think it'll look fine. I'm going to color in my Dolphin. Remember, this Crest is saying something about you. So the colors tell me something about you. I'm going to use the blue in a couple of different places. I'm going to use the blue in the sky here. Remember, skies do not have to be blue. We've talked about that. Especially, you know, this is technically a sunset sky, so maybe blue might not have been the best choice for me here. But since blue is one of my important colors, I'm going to go ahead and use blue here. You could do a sunset sky. I could do a yellow sky or a gold sky. But for now, I'm just going to do this blue here. And color that in. You can use a combination of crayons, colored pencils, markers to get different shades of the same color. So you can do light blue and dark blue depending on what you have at home. If you have paints, you can even mix. It's okay if you go off the edges a little bit because we're going to be cutting this out. All right. For this background here, I want to divide up this background a little bit where my W is. So I think I'm going to do part of this blue, but I think this needs a little bit more interest back here. So I think I'm going to put some little lines back here. And I think I'm going to do this section down here blue. Sometimes if I'm using blue, I don't necessarily want blue to be right next to blue. So I'm kind of planning as I'm drawing and coloring, what parts could I make blue that won't run into other parts. So like my blue sky's up here, so I'm choosing this lower section to be blue down here, so that it doesn't run into my blue sky. Okay, and I think I'm going to do this section blue here. And then this section here. And you can get super fancy, super ornate with all your colors and things. I'm just doing a real simplified version, so have fun with it. And I think I'm going to make one of these spots blue. Remember, I can leave some white on mine because white is one of my colors. Okay, I got some blue going on here. I'm going to go ahead and put in some green because green's one of my other colors. I know I want this palm tree to be green. And I think I want my water to be green. So I'm going to make some green water. If I have a pretty teal color, I could do a real pretty blue, green, teal colored water. So if you have any interesting turquoise or teal colors, that would look really pretty. And then I think I'm going to do this green. I like to outline my areas first and then color inside. This marker's a little dry. And I think I might make this part green. It's pretty good for green for now. And then I could do some yellow. Definitely want to do this yellow. And then I might do my sand yellow, even though sand really isn't yellow. It doesn't have to be realistic. And I think I'm going to do my W yellow. It's kind of bleeding into my blue. It's all right. And then I'm going to do this part yellow. I'm going to leave a little white. And now I decided, I think I'm going to grab some crayons. And just to make some variety, I'm going to use some different color blues and greens in my background. So I think I'm going to make this kind of a blue-green color. It's a really pretty color. And I think I might color some of this background where my, in fact, maybe I'll add a little water here. Add a little teal water. I like the different textures between marker and crayon. Okay. And maybe a little of this in here that would look really pretty between those two marker colors. This is like a construction paper crayon that I just happened to have, but colored pencil would look really pretty. And color that in. Looks like I missed a little green here. Go back. Fill this in. Now gray's kind of a neutral, so I'm actually going to use a little gray here. I don't think it'll make it much of a difference. And I'm probably going to use a little bit of black just to color in my paintbrush. I think I want my paintbrush to be black. I need another, it's kind of a yellow-orange, which makes me think of gold color, so I'm going to use a little of that on my trunk here, and I'm going to use that for my paint palette. It's kind of a yellowish gold color. I think that'll work. It's kind of sort of peachy. It's actually doesn't have the name. So far I'm kind of sticking to my color scheme. You can see it's all kind of actually blending together. I actually like how that one turned out better than this one, only because it seems like it all kind of flows together. So really all I have left is one more spot. I have this really pretty green. It's like a lighter green. I think I might use here. And then I have to decide on my background here. I might go ahead and try and do that sand color again and maybe blend it up to yellow. So I'm actually going to turn my paper a little sideways here. And I'm going to kind of do a sunset sort of sky here where I'm going to do a orangey goldy yellow, and then as it nears to the top, that's the nice thing about crayons and colored pencils, you can kind of blend colors together. I'm going to grab a yellow, real pretty pale yellow, and I'm going to finish that off at the top. Okay, so here is my crest. Looks pretty good actually. And then optionally, if you want to, you can cut this out. I would, especially since I kind of went over my lanes and stuff. And then the other thing you could do, if you have construction paper at home, or you have even like a brown paper bag or something, or a piece of paper or something that's colored, maybe even some wrapping paper that you might have laying around the house, it would be cool to put a little border on this. You could do like a pattern border, like if you glued it onto a piece of wrapping paper, or glued it onto a piece of pattern paper that you might have laying around the house. You can see this one I just glued onto some yellow paper. I actually have some yellow left over and a glue stick. So yellow goes really well with my theme, so I'm going to go ahead and use that. And I just happen to have a glue stick here. So I'm going to put a bunch of glue here. Oops. Hold on to my glue. Just make sure you get the edges real good. I'm going to glue it in the center, like that. And then I'm just going to trim, leaving a little bit of that yellow border around the edge. Just kind of freehand it. Just like that. And then I would go back with my Sharpie and kind of decorate the edges, or you could use your colors that you already have in your design. But I'm actually just going to take my Sharpie and I'm going to just make like some cool designs here. On this one, I kind of made it look like little rivets, so there were circles with little T's in the middle of them. This one I'm just going to try and make a little fancier. There's no rhyme or reason, just kind of whatever creatively makes you, inspires you. Okay, and when you are finished, I would like you to take a picture of it and then send it to me. Send it to my email,